So there's an interesting article I got for you at wolfstreet.com, Wolf Richter's site. Keep bringing up Carmageddon. Just like retail apocalypse, we got auto apocalypse. I've been reporting all year long. We're halfway through the year. It is not letting up. The numbers are getting worse. Everything is not looking good. And again, the whole reason behind all of this is that people are paying too much rent and too much mortgage payment. Why? Because houses are way too expensive, plain and simple. So the discretionary spending that would allow them to go out and buy a brand new car, that $500-600 a month payment, or some gadget at the store, retail store, whatever, clothing, anything, retail, they got to tighten up their belt. Can't afford it. So we're going to have to go to the used car market, which is how JSNIP 4, as you know, picked up his 2015 Nissan Leaf fully electric, 14,000 miles for $10K from a dealer. That was at a dealer, Tampa Hybrids. So you know they must have got that car for about $8,000. That car is about $33,000 brand new. I got one 2 years old with 14,000 miles, and I got 2/3 discount. I mean, literally. This is insane. So, of course, insane for other people. It's a fire sale deal for JSNIP 4, and there's plenty of JSNIP 4s out there taking advantage of these deals. You know, and if I had to get financing on that, how much would financing be for, you know, even at the old 60-month, 5-year deal, right? On a $10,000 car. Nothing. Couple $100, $180, $200, nothing. Not that I had to finance it, I didn't, but just saying. Sure beats, you know, $500 for a, you know, $30,000 car that does the same damn thing. Mine's 2 years older, but it's the freaking thing still has the new car smell. Isn't that amazing? Anyways, U.S. sales sag and Hyundai meets Carmageddon. Every time I see Carmageddon, it reminds me of the old band Def Leppard. Carmageddon it, Carmageddon it, Carmageddon it. Come on, Steve. No, come on, Steve. Don't go to the new car. Get the used car. 2/3 discount fire sale. So let's see how we can put a positive spin on this, he says. Ford, GM, Hyundai, and others tried hard, really hard, to curtail their sales to rental car companies or whatever. That's what the theme among analysts on Monday after automakers reported crummy June new vehicle sales. What really happened? Rental car companies continued to trim their fleets as they're traversing their own structural hell, squeezed by rideshare companies, you know, like Uber, Lyft, and falling used car wholesale prices. They're not buying as many vehicles anymore because they don't need more, regardless of what automakers are trying to do to sell them more. Retail customers are switching to used cars that are competing often on the same dealer's lot with the new cars. They're particularly after recent model year cars that look similar to new cars, but sell, of course, at much lower prices. See my initial story, 2/3 discount. Dealers buy them at auctions around the country where rental car companies and leasing companies are selling them. Used vehicle sales are expected to set a record this year north of 41 million vehicles. This is particularly eating into new car sales, the mainstay of rental car companies, rather than new truck sales. Consumers do this because, again, they're stretched to the limit by new car prices that continue to rise even as wages cannot keep up. And by the way, as I said, it's not just, although he's right, absolutely right, wages can't keep up because that's the last thing to rise over and over and over again. As everything else rises around you, wages are last to catch up. So that's a true statement. But again, the bigger statement here is that the massive majority of a person's income right now today is going towards a house, whether it's rent or a mortgage, it doesn't matter. That's where most of people's money is going. Now, I'm going to give you a good example. My sister bought her house several, I'm trying to think when she actually got that house, 2001? Somewhere around there? Maybe 2000, I'm not even sure. And has a very, very low mortgage payment, okay? She hasn't sold it, got a new house while prices are rising. No, she's been living there. She pays very little mortgage. It's great. But that's my sister. She's had the house now for, going on 17, 18 years. I don't know when she moved in exactly. So naturally, okay, makes sense. But, and I've mentioned this before, you have people, millennials, etc. I met my wife, I met my husband, we're getting married, we're having kids, we're doing the American, or not really American thing. This is an everybody thing in any country. Any Western country, you're doing this. I'm moving out, got my spouse, we're going to go start a life, we've got to get a house. And you might have to start renting first or get a house, depending on your situation. But if you happen to be that person who just so happened to be born at this particular year, and we're in 2015, 16, 17, and everything is extremely high in the housing market, rents, everything, you can't stop living. You can't put your life on pause, can you? No, you just got to go with the flow. And the flow is we can't afford anything. But they're going to try anyways, which means they're going to go get the expensive house, not because they want to, but because they have to, or the expensive rent, not because they want to, but because they have to. And it automatically leaves them less discretionary spending, thus enter the recession that never left us. And the only solution to get out of this, there's only one. Whatever we're spending most of our money on has to go away. But see, there's actually two things, not just housing. You hear of this thing called health insurance? And every year, jacking the premiums up, jacking the premiums up, and jacking the premiums up. And then when you go to see the doctor, I need to take a bunch of money from you. And yes, your insurance is going to pay a little bit, but you're going to pay a bunch right now to come see me. But I'm paying heavy duty insurance. I know. But you got to meet this little, whatever they call that, not a quota, whatever. Got to meet that, I can't think of the name. You got $1,500 you got to come up with first before the insurance kicks in. On top of the crazy premium. And which is like a mortgage. And then on top of your healthcare mortgage, if you will, you have a real mortgage or rent. So what has to happen? One of those two things, housing and healthcare, either or both, of course, need to come way down. And last time I checked, we are a bunch of sick puppies in this country. Health insurance ain't coming down. Not as long as we eat and the government allows the food to have, chemicals and everything else in it, genetically modified, we are going to remain sick people. Therefore, that cost ain't going away, which means we got the housing cost. And that can go away by a devastating housing bubble pop of 2.0 epic proportions, which will be able to fix this. And then people will have more money to spend and we'll start a recovery. Kind of like last time. Except did we actually leave? No. Nothing really changed. We just added a bunch more debt. So now we have the bunch more debt, plus we need housing to deflate. And it's going to deflate. It has to. There's no choice. So anyways, Edmunds reported that in June, the average monthly payment jumped to a record of $517 a month, up from $510 just a month before. Per month. The length of the average auto loan, this is my favorite. The length of the average auto loan rose to a record 69.3 months, which again, and that's record. We'll round that off to 70 months. And it says it's an average, right? So the average means there's plenty of loans for 80 months. And there's probably plenty of loans for the typical 5-year or 60-month term. So that makes sense. You have 60, 70, and 80 months. 70 is right in the middle. And we have people on both sides of that. And what was that? Rose to a record of 69.3 months. Again, I just need a lower payment. What do I need to do? We can sign you up for 70 months. Okay, sure. And the average amount financed jumped by $631 from May to approximately $3,945 as far as total amount financed. So that's going up. The fact that negative equity on trade-ins hobbles from record to record doesn't help matters. So something has to give. Again, I told you what can give. But he says, and this is what gave. Overall car and light truck sales in June fell 3% year over year to 1.474 million vehicles, according to auto data. By the way, you may hear fireworks in the background. Yeah, just an FYI. This is the number of vehicles sold and delivered by dealers to their customers or delivered by automakers to their large fleet customers. It was the 6th month in a row of year-over-year declines. Truck and SUV sales rose 4.1% to 933,000 units, but car sales plunged 13.2% to 541 plus thousand units. For the first half, sales were down 2.1%. Truck sales up 4.6%, and car sales down 11.4%. Sales to fleet customers dropped 7.8% in June, not because automakers refused to sell them, but because fleet customers cut back their orders. Retail deliveries dropped 1% in June. The seasonally adjusted annual rate of sales in June fell to 16.51 million light cars and trucks, the fourth month in a row below the 17 million mark and the lowest since February 2015. So regardless of how this is being dressed up, it is not propitious. Among the automakers, there were some notables. GM's car and truck sales fell 4.8%. Truck sales rose 11% and are up 5.8% for the first half. But car sales plunged a stunning 38.2%. Just 50,806 units and are down 18.6% for the first half. At this pace, GM car sales are moribund. GM's dealers ended the month with 105 days worth of supply backlog. It's crazy. That is up from the already catastrophic 101 days at the end of May. This is the kind of inventory GM dealers sat on during the financial crisis when GM went bust. But no big deal this year, apparently. Ford car and truck sales fell 5% and are down 3.8% for the first half. Ford truck and SUV sales rose 2.2% and 3% respectively for the first half, but car sales plunged 23% for 52,731 units and are down 20.2% so far this year alone. Ford retail sales fell 2.1% in the first half, but fleet sales in June plunged 14%. Ford blamed the 7.1% decline in fleet sales so far this year not on its refusal to sell the fleets, as the analysts were trying to make it seem, but because of the timing of the fleet deliveries. Sure. On the semi-positive side, compared to GM, vehicle inventory at Ford dealers came in at just 66 days supply, about the same as last year and not too far above what is considered the okay line of 60-day supply. Hyundai, on the other hand, got crushed again and enters what he terms Carmageddon it. Among the major automakers, it booked the steepest sales plunge in June. Total unit sales plunged 19.3% year over year after having already plunged 19.1% in May. Even light truck sales, the growing segment in the U.S., fell 11.6%. Car sales plummeted 23.9%. This sales deterioration has come fast and furious for Hyundai and is now dragging down the first half, with total sales down 7.4% as truck sales are still up 11.6%, but car sales are down 14.3%. These crummy sales despite record incentives. Automakers spend an average of $3,550 in incentives per new vehicle sold in June, according to ALG, cited by Automotive News. It was the highest for any June and up 9.7% from the already high levels a year ago. The average incentives are estimated to have reached 10.8% of the average transaction price. 10.8%. You buy a $50,000 car, you get over $5,000 in incentives. You just got it for $45,000 instantly, just for please get this car off our lot. Biggest incentives, Daimler Chrysler, of course, $4,449. FCA, $4,389. GM, $4,361. All the way down to Toyota, Hyundai, and Subaru, which is $2,500, $2,056, and $1,032. So Subaru isn't really hurting too much, apparently, from at least incentive-wise. You only get $1,000 back off of that. Nissan and Kia spent 15% of their average transaction prices on incentives. Whoa. The highest in the industry, by the way. Hyundai, whose sales got crushed the most, spent the second most on incentives, 14.4% of its average transaction price. GM, Ford, and FCA spent between 12 and 13%. So you have absolutely devastating sales numbers. You're giving the second highest incentive like ever compared to any other industry automaker. That was the best you could do. Not that I'm saying, you suck, Hyundai. Let's just face it, there's not a whole lot of people buying Hyundais. You got GM, Ford. And if you want to go to the cheap end, Kia's right around the corner, right? Kia. And Kia was there too, but their incentives were $3,384, which is above Toyota, Hyundai, and Subaru. Not a Honda, not Hyundai. Actually, Hyundai is just a hair. Let's see. No, Kia is $3,384 incentive. Hyundai is $3,259. So practically even. In other words, automakers spent a record amount of incentives, or on incentives, with Hyundai going all out as inventories are piling up and sales still declined big. And in Hyundai's case, plunged. For the industry, this has been the case every month so far this year, which, despite the efforts to put a hopeful spin on it, is beginning to jangle some nerves. Ford's new CEO, to cut some costs, shifts production of the Ford Focus compact car from plants in Michigan and Mexico to a plant in China for import back into the U.S. So let's get this straight. Trump has said we're going to have to put tariffs, taxation on the imports, especially from guys like China, countries like China. And the numbers are floating around as 20%. Ford knows this. But for whatever reason, Ford has decided we're going to China anyways. We're taking the plant. We're not going to Mexico. We're not Michigan. Nope, not happening. We're going to China. Maybe because there's a whole bunch of new, and I mean a whole bunch, considering the population of China and 2 billion or wherever the hell they're at these days. I don't know if it's 2 billion. It's 1 point something billion, I'm sure. Whole lot of people have become middle class, and they can afford to buy all kinds of cars and whatnot. And I'm sure the days of one car in the family and it's an old beater have now changed, like it has in America, to 2 cars in the family, and they're not beaters. So Ford is saying, in my opinion, we don't care about the 20% tariff. We don't care if we ever sell another car back to you guys. We got a new place that we're going to, because that's where the money is. And since America, again, like all great countries of the past, is in its collapse phase, going down to third world status phase over probably decades, but apparently that's where we're heading. Just look at the data. Look at what I show you. Look at the debt. This is all unsustainable. They're probably going to where the money is, like any company would do. And of course, they got shareholders. And the shareholders don't like hearing stocks are down, the market's down. No. We need good numbers. And the numbers in America suck. Time to go to China. And that's what they're doing. And I hate to say this, but can you blame them? They got to stay alive. What employees they've got left? Remember, they cut 200,000 employees total. They cut 20%, 10%, 20,000. Remember that one? Just a few weeks ago, I talked about that. 20,000. We're cutting employees, tightening the belt. We're going to go to China. And what do you last time I checked, Americans aren't going to China to work over there. No. There'll be Chinese working at the Ford plant for sure. But as they say, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Take care.